Steven! Did you keep track of how many picks I got wrong in my mock draft?
In the first round, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Did you know how many I got wrong?
I don't know exactly how many, but I just took a nice quick gander at it before I went to bed, had myself a good laugh, and went to sleep on good terms.
I think everybody's mock draft was kind of fucked up because things went according to plan for the first part of the draft, like early on, and then the rest of it was like, what? And we'll obviously get to the biggest shocker of the first round. But yeah, I would say everybody's mock drafts were shit the next day.
Unfortunate for you, that mock draft is going to be up there for a very long time. Whereas, all these other guys, conveniently, the experts, when they post their mock drafts, like whether it's whether they're doing whether they were one and done or they're doing a 2.0, 3.0, 5.0, whatever. They never seem to keep them up there. They always seem to disappear into the atmosphere and they're just gone. Poof.
Not me. I stand by my picks. I will stand by how wrong I was. Because that's what I do, Steven. Even though I have my opinions, man, I'll say that they were wrong.
So can we go through it right now?
We will. Just your opinion, man. Steven Langford, Derek Papa, post-draft show. And it was fun. Went to 21st Amendment on Thursday night and saw a lot of the people in our lovely chat. Met Ernesto, Ernie 2, as we call him here, Rockin' New Era. Steven, I don't think we've ever actually discussed this. Do you know why they call him Rockin' New Era or why he calls himself that?
Because he loves New Era hats.
Yeah, I did not know that. So when I met him, he was like, Derek, Ernie. And I was like, what's up, man? And then he goes, so how many hats do you own? I was like, probably around 3 right now. Like some of them just don't fit me anymore. And, some of them just get worn out. So I'd say I own about 3 hats, but I don't wear hats as much anymore because I've come to terms with my baldness. And then I go, how many do you have? And Ernie goes, I got about 1,300. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, 1,300. I was like, Jesus Christ. So he's got like a shit ton of hats in storage. I said, how many like Giants hats do you own? He's like, oh, I got like 20 different variations. It's incredible. So he's got a huge cat collection. Met AJ Cruz, funny dude. And then everybody was expecting me and Tacky to throw hands. And I got to tell you, the guy, I don't want him to hear this on the chat. I'll just whisper it. Delightful. Good dude. He did get me though. It was a hilarious line. I was going to the bathroom and he was standing right there and he goes, so you going to eat?
Oh, that's amazing.
It was well done.
I do have one question. What do you think that Rockin' New Era meant before? Did you not think about it?
I just thought it was just a nice little clever handle. I don't really like give it much thought in, the guys' names. Like it's just, Rockin' New Era. That's his name. But I never thought like he was like a big cat collector. And then when he told me I got 13 hats, I was like, oh, that's a appropriate name for you then.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I knew from the get-go that Rockin' New Era meant he loved New Era, but I also too was perplexed when he told me that he had when we first met back at the Warriors Summit that he has boxes and boxes of these hats stacked up.
The man loves his hats.
Yes.
The man loves his hats. And shout out to Wes. I don't think he's in the chat quite often with us, but I think he's a KNBR guy. He came out as well. And the one guy that didn't show up, I see Ernie. Ernie 1. Damn. Where were you, Ernie? Still haven't met you after all these years.
Tough.
And then, Tacky right here. I was surprised / disappointed that I like Derek. All right. Enough of these pleasantries. But it was a good time. It was a good time at 21st Amendment. So we will go through the draft today. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs. We got the 76ers and Knicks playing right now. Sixers are up 43-39 in the second quarter. And we'll do a little pop culture catch-up, Jackass of the Week. Alon Desai is going to join us, too, because he knows a lot about college football. He knows these players. He'll come on with us around 11:30, and we'll talk about what his thoughts were with the Raiders and 49ers. But just, first round of the draft, early part kind of went as expected. Caleb Williams, get him going first overall. They pair him up with Rome Odunze, which I thought was, a lot of people had that, kind kind of penciled in there, but may have gone defense, may have traded down, but he gets another wide receiver there, so that'll be good. He's going to wear number 18 with the Bears. Jaden Daniels, the whole thing last week of them being pissed off and whatnot with the meeting meant nothing. They take him second overall to the Commanders. I took my brother's advice. He thought that J.J. McCarthy was going to go third, and I know a lot of other people making mock drafts took that as well, but they went I guess not the safer pick, but I guess like the more the pick that's gonna have more potential with Drake May. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals. Hasn't signed his NFL licensing agreement yet, which I don't know what the hell that means because I don't think you can negotiate that. Kind of a weird thing. His jersey
that just means his jerseys can't sell off the racks, right?
That's exactly what that means. He may just not have done it, but I don't think you can negotiate that. Like, I get more money if these jerseys. I don't think that's anything you could do.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, kind of a weird deal. And then Joe Alt going 5. We all knew that the Chargers were going to pass up on a wide receiver and take an offensive lineman. They didn't trade down. That was probably the biggest surprise, was none of these teams were able to trade down. But Joe Alt's going to be a safe thing at right tackle. And Harbaugh said in the post-game or post-draft conference where he was like, we view offensive linemen as weapons. So everyone that's like, oh, the Chargers didn't get a wide receiver. They did get Ladd McConkey, which I like a lot. We'll talk about that later. But he's just trying to shore up the offensive line. Malik Neighbors goes to the Giants. And I thought the whole thing with J.J. McCarthy and the quarterbacks was a smokescreen. They're going to try to get Daniel Jones when they can. Maybe they sign somebody like Ryan Tannehill in the meantime, but they got Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. And then the biggest surprise of the night. And number 8, Michael Penix going to the Atlanta Falcons. And my initial reaction was shock because while I did know, I did question, like, when are the Falcons going to address maybe the future quarterback for their franchise? I never thought it was going to be in the first round. I thought maybe they could do it later on in the draft, maybe a Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton or somebody else.
Right.
I think it's Milton. It might be Hilton. I forget his name. The guy from Tennessee. Hilton? Okay. But I was not expecting 8th overall, especially when they just signed Kirk Cousins to the 4-year, $100 million contract. But they do it, and it wasn't so much like, for me, like shock. I can't believe they did that. A little bit it was, but also at the same time, it was like, damn. So what are the Raiders going to do now? And I didn't think they were going to take Bo Nix. He went 12 to the Broncos. I didn't want them to take J.J. McCarthy, and he went 10 to the Vikings. They traded up with the Jets. They were shit out of luck. And then they make the move for Brock Bowers, who, I think there's a video of me, Adam Copeland took it, where I saw you can see my reaction in real time, where I'm like, I mean, he's good. And that's my reaction. He is good. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in this draft, hands down, in a tight end draft that wasn't a lot, but he has stood out in that Georgia team. The only thing is, they have Michael Mayer. They just drafted in the second round last year. I think he's a good tight end. He can become a great tight end, but tight end wasn't the biggest need for the Raiders. So I think when Michael Penix was off the board, they just took the best player available, which is not a bad thing to do. A lot of teams do that, but I don't think it was necessary. So not getting a quarterback in this draft, I think the Raiders got it kind of screwed here.
All right, there's a lot to unpack there. Jesus, leave some meat on the bone, Derek.
Sorry.
You just went through everything. First off, not gonna lie, with all the shit talking I did about watching the draft, I had my eyes on this one. Last year it was easy. Just to let it happen because there weren't really many surprises. I mean, I guess, like, what was the biggest surprise? The Eagles getting Jalen Carter. I mean, I guess that would be the biggest one.
Yep.
Where you're like, damn, they just got stronger, and the Raiders already made their pick. So I really wasn't interested, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I was interested in this one because at the amount of quarterbacks that were going in that top 12, never happened in NFL history before.
6.
It's crazy. 6 in the top 12, and it's like the only time that happened was in 1983, and we're talking Elway to Marino, and we're talking in between that. Hall of Famers, you know, Jim Kelly included in there, obviously Marino and Elway, and I forgot the other ones even. But like, do we really think this quarterback class deserved to make history in the NFL draft? I think a lot of teams really reached in this one. Like, why did the Broncos trade up? Like, what was the point of that? But anyway, I do have to say it was.
They stayed at 12.
Or was I thought they had the 22nd pick?
No, they stayed at 12.
All right, never mind.
You may look at somebody's mock.
So I just think that the draft this year was very intriguing. As far as what the Raiders did, I understand that it might seem like a bit of a reach, but I think once Penix was taken off the board, here's my inkling that the Raiders are going to take him. Here's my only thing. I don't know whether he was just supporting the team. But did you see the guy in the background in Penix Jr.'s little party that he was having when he got selected?
No, I did not.
There was one gentleman that was wearing all 49er gear. And maybe he was just wearing 49er gear because he wanted to let the people know, or he wanted to let people know where his allegiances lie because he knows that the family member or friend or whatever he was, he knows that he is going to the Raiders. So I thought to myself, damn, that guy's wearing 49er gear. He probably knew something. I just think that it was it was a fun draft overall. But as far as the Raiders pick, with Brock Bowers, I understand the skepticism. But I don't really know where else they were supposed to go. I really don't. And I think that they could have drafted a corner, like no doubt corner. But if you're going to tell me, well, Michael Mayer was drafted in the second round, why would you draft a tight end in the first round? Well, I'd say to anyone who maybe thought they should have gotten an edge rusher, well, you drafted an edge rusher 7th overall last year or whatever it was. Like, why do you think they should get one in the first round? Like, you can never have too many edge rushers. I get it. But I think by the time Penix was off the board, they knew that they're going to have to rely on Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And as opposed to just wondering, well, who's going to throw the ball to all those talented receivers? Well, those guys can throw the ball, but you're going to need help, as much help around them as they could get. So I understood the pick, and they got the best player available. And I think Brock Bowers is kind of underrated, to be honest, in a weird way, since everyone that was talking about it, like, did anyone watch him at Georgia? I know I don't watch a lot of college football, but I watch enough to see Georgia and how dominant Brock Bowers is. And it's more than drafting just a tight end. They're not drafting just a tight end. They're drafting a wide receiver. They're drafting a potential running back in certain situations. He's a do-it-all type of player, whereas Michael Mayer is purely just a tight end. So I'm actually excited to see what they could do. I love the pick, to be honest.
So I will talk about the Falcons' perspective and then get to the Raiders. So a lot of people were thinking the Falcons obviously are in win-now mode with signing Kirk Cousins, and they are. They think that their team was good a year ago, and all they needed was a quarterback. So they got the best quarterback available in free agency and signed Kirk Cousins. Now, most people would think, well, then they need to address other needs, maybe in the defense. Their pass rush is not the best right now, so maybe they should have got Dallas Turner, whoever they thought was the best defensive player. And instead, they go with Michael Penix. My initial reaction was, wow, I can't believe they did that. And I know everybody hates it. Not because Michael Penix is looked at as a bad prospect or whatever, it's just because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you think about it, I actually think this makes a ton of sense. Listen to me. Don't make that face.
Don't say made a ton of sense. It doesn't make a ton of sense. What are you talking about, a ton of sense?
It makes a good deal of sense.
It does not.
Okay, don't we say every year that teams should draft a quarterback for the future?
Sure.
Okay. And Kirk Cousins is 35 years old and coming off an Achilles. I totally understand that giving him that big of a contract and then signing his replacement looks bad. But I think the way that the Falcons look at it as, we plan on being really good. We don't plan on drafting in the spot again at number 8. Let's get the best possible prospect that we see at quarterback. And then when we're here, 3 years from now, when Kirk Cousins is not going to be our quarterback anymore.
3 years?
I know.
What are
I
you talking about?
Just listen though. When he's not around in 3 years, we don't have to look for that next guy. We have him already, and we're developing him, and we're not going to have any drop off. He's just good to go. I get it. I know it's a gigantic.
He's good to go now, Derek. He's good to go now. He's a day one starter. He shouldn't be on the bench. You're not going to develop it sitting on the bench.
But that's the part that makes me mad, is because another team like the Raiders could have used him this season as opposed to the Falcons. But the Falcons don't give a shit about that. They're only worried about their team. So while, yes, they probably should have got somebody to help them out with this season, I do understand that they want to have no drop off. They're doing the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love model, which a lot of people didn't like at first, but it did work out.
But if you're going to crap on the Raiders pick for not picking what they needed, the Falcons don't need a quarterback. They need defense. They're just going to, like, what are they going to do? I get it, but also, I don't know. It also go back on what I said about Kirk Cousins, because I was skeptical about that contract in the first place. It's like you're giving 4 years, $180 million to this guy who's an aging quarterback coming off a season-ending injury. Like, okay, good luck with that. I mean, if that gets you to the playoffs, then fine. It definitely makes you the best in the NFC South. But I think this is the worst situation. Not the worst situation, but I think this is a terrible situation for Penix, and it's a terrible situation for the Falcons, because at the very least, I mean, what happens? Kirk Cousins shows out, and you're just keeping Penix on the bench. Or you have Penix in there, and you put Penix in there, and then you're just paying $40+ million for a backup quarterback. It just doesn't make much sense to me. I think it really doesn't. So as much as you could try to swing it in whatever direction you're telling me, I don't buy any of it.
No, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I know I completely understand the other side of it. I do, because that was my reaction at first. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I do kind of understand it. They look at it as, we're drafting in the top 10. We plan on being a good team, and we don't want to have to look for this guy in the future. He's there already. Now, the difference is Jordan Love was more of a project. Michael Penix, the only thing that you could say that he has to fix is his delivery. A lot of people think that he's got a funky delivery with the sidearm sling. But other than that, yeah, he was good to go. It's his age. The time that he plays, he'll be 27, 28. And that's old in the sense of being a starting quarterback.
Yep.
So with the amount of time he played in college football, yes, he was good to go. This is why this is way different than like a Jordan Love situation or Trey Lance. Those guys needed time to grow. Michael Penix, for all purposes, is maybe like a year, of figuring things out, but he was ready to go. And now the Falcons made this move. I think that it makes more sense for the Falcons than it does in them screwing over a team that needed him. Like the Raiders really needed Michael Penix more than the Falcons did. But
for sure.
They were in a better position to take him at 8.
For sure. But you're drafting a guy 8th overall to not play him? Like you're paying all that money. Like, come on, man. You can't swing this in the positive direction of this pick.
I just think of it as, would I have done that? No, but I mean, like this has been a conversation that people have had on sports talk shows all the time, being like, sometimes you just, if you're in the top 10, why not just draft the best quarterback available and have him on your roster? I mean, I know the Jets didn't do this. They drafted somebody else, Jordan Travis, later in the draft. But the Falcons are thinking about the long term. I totally get that. These guys are operating that they're going to be here for a long time. And quarterback's the hardest position that there is in sports. They did not have good quarterback play with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heinicke a year ago. So they don't want to be in that position again. I totally understand that. I just would have done it maybe later on. I would have looked in the second round or the third round or fourth round, or maybe taken a flyer on Spencer Rattler. I wouldn't have done this, me personally. But I do understand it. Terry Fontenot has made some weird draft picks. He drafted, a tight end, Kyle Pitts, at 4th overall. And then he did Drake London, who's been okay. Bijan Robinson, a running back, 7th overall. That's not done a lot these days. So he did this. And I think a lot of teams look at the draft of, not necessarily trying to build something for the now, but build something for the future. So the Falcons thought, we're going to do this for our future. That's what we want to do. And I totally get the other side of it. Like, should you do this when you're not even a perennial playoff team? Probably not. Like, there's a lot of expectations now. Like, well, we're the best team in the NFC South, and now we're going to win the division, and we don't expect to be in this position again. But who knows? You this could not pan out. I mean, it's obvious that Kirk Cousins is not happy about this. But as far as a Raider perspective, once this move was made, I was like, well, shit, where do they go now? Because I didn't like Bo Nix, I didn't like JJ McCarthy, and they were in a position to draft those guys anyway at 13. So they took the best player available. But I don't always agree with that idea of just take the best player available, because sometimes it doesn't make sense. Did the Raiders need Brock Bowers? No, but he is a good player. I just thought they had other needs. Maybe they could have drafted a left tackle or a right tackle. Not a left tackle because they have Colton Miller, but they could have drafted like Troy Fatanu or the other tackles that were available and put him at right tackle. There were other spots that they could have done that were more bigger needs. I honestly think that they just saw that they were planning on Penix, and Penix wasn't there, and they just took the best guy available. They didn't panic, but they just took the best guy available. And I don't know if I loved it. I think that Brock Bowers will be a good Raider, and it'll be a good 2 tight end set, but they did not solve their quarterback problem. And I don't feel confident about Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell going into this season.
You don't feel more confident with a loaded offense?
Is it loaded?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, Devontae Adams, obviously. Okay, Devontae Adams, yes. Jacoby Myers, is he the best wide receiver in the world? Is he a solid 2? Yeah, but like,
I'd stack him up against a lot of number 2s in the league.
Okay, and then you got Trey Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got a 2 tight end set, and yeah, this is a very good tight end tandem. Very good. Running back wise, Zamir White, he's never been a full-time starter. I still think they got to do some, like, they did draft a tackle. So overall, the Raiders draft, before we get Alon in here, they went with Brock Bowers, obviously, in the first round. Then they went Jackson Powers Johnson, who could play guard or center, the best center guard combo in this draft from Oregon. They did take DJ Glaze, who was an offensive tackle from Maryland, in the 3rd round. They took Demarion Richardson, I believe a cornerback from Michigan State. Then they took in the 5th round Tommy Etchenberg, a linebacker from Ohio State. 6th round, they took Dylan Laube, running back from New Hampshire. Then 2 7th round picks, Trey Taylor, a safety from Air Force, and then MJ Devon Shire from Pittsburgh, cornerback. So they drafted some needs there, but I don't know. I mean, my overall thing was, did they really need Brock Bowers? And so you think that the offense is loaded now with him on the team?
Yes. Okay. I think he's a monster, and I think he's ready to go day one, and they could use him in a variety of ways. And maybe I'm being fooled just because I watched a highlight package as soon as he was drafted, and they only show the good teams or the good plays that he has. But when I see one-handed catches with ease, breaking tackles, yards after the catch, jet sweeps, using him to run the football, versatility, like, I just think this adds something completely different to your offense. And they didn't like any quarterbacks in this draft. It's pretty clear with that. Like, I don't think they wanted a quarterback as much as they think, or as much as we think. I think they were okay actually with either Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. And look, if Aiden O'Connell beats out Minshew, that's probably a good sign. Because everyone's just talking about, well, you got Minshew on a 2-year, $25 million deal. Well, O'Connell's still got a rookie year to build off of. Maybe he can improve on some things. I'm not going to act like I'm fully sold on it. I'm not going to act like they're set at quarterback for life. But I think once Penix Jr. was taken, that's when they said to themselves, all right, we got to try to build up this offense as much as we can just to try and deflect from our lack of ability at quarterback. And you know what, though? At the end of the day, with Minshew, and maybe this is just me getting fooled completely by his off the field personality, but at the very least, they got a guy they believe in. I think a lot of players believe in Minshew. I think he's got this very infectious attitude that rallies his teammates, and that's why he's been so capable as just being a backup for his entire career, is because he can come in and any team would be lucky to have him. That's why they paid 2 years, $25 million. But I really think that once Penix was gone, I think they felt they needed to do something. Should they have taken maybe an offensive tackle or something, or an offensive lineman? I'm willing to hear that one.
Yeah.
But as far as like a corner, maybe corners scare me, to be honest. Corners really scare me. You never know how their game's going to translate to the NFL. It's like I hear the term all the time: tape don't lie, film don't lie. Film from college sometimes lies.
Oh,
And
yeah,
how
it
that
does.
translates to the NFL might look great in college, like the anticipatory coverage, whatever cornerbacks do. But I'm not always sold on quarterbacks, especially in the first round of the draft. Like sometimes they could just fall off and you won't even know it. So
Yeah, I didn't want them to take a corner because between Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones, they have a lot of youth there. I think that they need to get a veteran there. So they got plenty of time to maybe get somebody like Xavier Howard or Stephon Gilmore just to have a veteran back there. But I didn't think they needed to get a corner. I did think that maybe they need to go offensive line because we've always talked about, Colton Miller's been solid at left tackle, but the right tackle position's always been kind of shaky. But they did draft DJ Glaze, who could be that guy. It's just in the third round.
yeah,
And then Jackson Powers Johnson. I don't know if he's taken over Andre James' spot, but he could just be a guard that they can plug and play. They still have Dylan Parham. Sorry, you want to chime in here, Steven?
yeah. I think they're sliding him to guard. I think they got a stud with Jackson Powers Johnson. I think that dude's legit.
Yeah. No, I mean
he's a mauler, and I'm very excited that for the first time since Gabe Jackson, they finally have a guard that can pull, a pulling guard. I love. There's not many things I love more, Derek, than a pulling guard.
Really?
Yeah, you get a little outside
More than Taco
zone
Bell?
You got the outside zone. Yes, you get the off tackle run, and you get the guard pulling from the left side, and it's a zone run, and then you see the guard right in front. Like one of my favorite plays that I'd ever seen with the Raiders was Amari Cooper catching a bubble screen and Gabe Jackson just leading the way, crushing someone on the Chargers, which paved the way for a touchdown. They haven't had that in a very long time. So I think they got a good one with JPJ. He could have gone in the first round.
He very well could have. No, I think it's a good selection. I'm disappointed they did not address the quarterback position because that is the one thing that I think is still separating them from being a good team to a great team. I think that Gardner Minshew is a solid backup, but I go back to that throw he missed on fourth down when they were playing the Texans with the division on the line. And there's just things here or there where he will just make inaccurate throws. That's why he hasn't been a consistent starter. He was great, Minshew Mania his rookie year, and that was fun. But ever since then, he's been a solid backup, and he just comes in every now and then. What?
You were believing in Gardner Minshew at the end of last season. You were telling me the Colts were going to beat the Texans because they were good with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, dude, Gardner Minshew was very good in Shane Steichen's scheme. No question. Yeah. But I don't think he's a starter. No, I thought he was getting to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe he deserved a chance to get, a starting position this season, and he did. We'll see what happens with the Raiders quarterback, competition. But I'm banking on maybe Minshew beats out O'Connell. But who knows?
Well, I mean, so here's what I'd ask you. What would you? Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Gardner Minshew's a Pro Bowl starter and he's going to lead them to the Super Bowl for the first time since the early 2000s. I'm not here to say that. I'm not here to say they're fixed at the quarterback position. But what would you rather have? A quarterback like Justin Herbert, who seems to have some talent around him, but has an aging running back and really does not have any skill position guys to throw to except Quentin Johnson, who had a very disappointing rookie season? Or would you rather have an offense like the Raiders, which they seem to be pretty set at most positions, except right tackle? I do think right tackle, they're kind of I do think they're kind of in trouble there. Like, what are they going to go with? Thayer Munford? Like, I don't know where they're going to go there. So would you rather have that offense though? that's stacked, or would you rather have the Chargers offense? Because I think like I'm looking at the other division or the rest of the division, and I understand that maybe they got their quarterbacks, but what skill position guys do the Chargers have? I'm looking at
I'd
that
rather
team.
have the offense with the better quarterback.
But also, is Justin Herbert just Justin Herbert? Are we too high on him just because of his rookie season? Like the talent's evident.
The talent is evident. The talent is there. I think it was crazy. I guess there was some validity to that report where the Vikings and Patriots reached out to the Chargers being like, hey, can we take this guy? And the Chargers were like, no. So I just think good quarterbacks separate, the so-so teams. We've always said this. Patrick Mahomes has made the Chiefs a better team because of him. The Buffalo Bills are a better team because of Josh Allen. Have they had the same success? No. But they're elite players at the quarterback position. And I just think that's something that the Raiders are lacking right now. And I just wanted them to solidify that and not have to worry about that again maybe next season. Who knows? Aiden O'Connell could take a huge jump this season. He could. But I don't know. Like I just think of that division with those two guys. Yeah, I think you need an elite thrower of the football. And I think that's why they were looking at Jaden Daniels. And I'm sure they wanted Michael Penix. Just when the Falcons took him, they were shit out of luck and they didn't know what to do. And, trading down or whatever, they went with the best player available. And it's not the worst pick in the world. I just thought that maybe they could have got a position of need as opposed to just getting another sweet, piece to the offense. But Brock Bowers is the real deal. I think he's going to be, he's like a Swiss Army knife like Taysom Hill, but he's a better way all around player than Taysom Hill.
I think where I'm approaching it is maybe they didn't get the position of need like you're talking about, but they did get a player who, to me, it feels like he's one of the more pro-ready prospects that we have in this draft. Like it's as we say every year, the draft, even though it's not a lottery system, it's basically a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Or you're basically picking from the lottery. Like you're just hoping one sticks, which is why I don't really believe that all these quarterbacks are going to pan out and be the franchise guys for their respective teams. Like
probably not.
I think there are a couple of guys I felt pretty bad for after that draft. Number one being Justin Jefferson. Good luck trying to break whatever individual records you want to break with JJ McCarthy there. And then number two, felt bad for Coop.
Bo Nix?
No, Kirk Cousins' son, Coop.
Oh, I thought you were making like a Jerry Maguire joke, like he looks like him or something.
Oh no, just for Coop to watch in the first round as the team where his dad is going to fill that trophy case with the Super Bowl trophy, or fill that empty spot in the trophy case with an actual trophy with the Falcons. Not going to happen. Well, his dad's making 40 plus million.
Yeah, Coop will be fine. It'll just be crushing to Kirk if Coop becomes a Penix fan.
Oh man, get Coop a Penix jersey. Oh my God, can you imagine, dude? What if we did that? What if we sent Coop a Michael Penix jersey? We should get Kirk Cousins' address and mail a Michael Penix jersey to the Cousins household
for Coop. If you want to go through all that trouble, we could do that.
That'd be so mean.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer will make a good tight end tandem. Yes, they have definitely weapons on the offense right now.
Yeah.
Does it make them an electric offense? I don't know yet. I still got to see what a Luke Getsy offense looks like with the Raiders. And I still got to see what Zamir White's going to be for a 17-game season. It's just that we're still going to figure out what they're going to do quarterback-wise after this season. That's my guess. Because while Aiden O'Connell is a solid player, I don't know if he's going to be the guy that takes them to the next level.
For sure. I'm just at the point where I'm like, well, what could they have done? Like, as far as addressing the quarterback after that, like, sure, they maybe could have drafted a better fit, but after that with quarterback, I thought Spencer Rattler or maybe Jordan Travis would have been an interesting one. I actually think Jordan Travis could be pretty damn good. It just depends on whether he can come back from a gruesome injury or not.
Right.
But I was interested in those guys, and apparently they weren't. I don't know why. But this is what makes sports very interesting, though. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I'm getting a little more older, but I become more interested in how teams are actually like building their rosters and stuff. And at the very start of this Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce era with the Las Vegas Raiders, they decided to not take any of the, 9 quarterbacks in this first round. They decided to go in a different direction. And obviously they were at a loss in the first round. They couldn't take a quarterback, but they decided that the other ones, well, they're projects. They wouldn't start in the first year. You'd be going with Minshew or O'Connell anyway. That quarterback would probably be, third on the depth chart. But this is an interesting start to the Telesco era, and I'm very interested to see how it pans out. But ultimately, I like the Bowers pick because it's like they got a sure thing. It felt like they got a sure thing.
It does feel that way. I don't mind it. I at first I was like, that just seems like we panicked and we're just going to take the best player on the board, and sometimes that works out. So I don't think it's the end of the world that they drafted Brock Bowers. We all said he was going to be, a great tight end, and a lot of people thought he was going to go to the Jets because everybody thinks that they're, trying to just win now, but they made the smart move and took Olu Fashanu at left tackle for their future. The thing that I just worry about is Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell going to separate this team? And I hear you, Steven, on the Chargers not having a lot of weapons, but I think they're doing things smartly right now. I think that, they drafted Quentin Johnston and he didn't pop his first year, but I think he'll develop. Ladd McConkey, that's perfect for the Chargers, just to have a slot guy that, Justin Herbert can rely on just for first downs and, just get volume catches. That's basically what the Niners are getting with Ricky Pearsall. But yeah, it's just, quarterback wise, is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough with Minshew? Is it going to be enough with Aiden O'Connell? Our Raider fans just going to keep talking about next season when the quarterback draft doesn't look that very good. I'm not very high on Shedeur Sanders, and I don't even know if he's going to be the first overall pick taken in 2025. But that's what people are saying as of now. But shit changes. So that's my only
TJ Collin in Vegas. I'm so ready for it. Shedeur.
Yeah, I know you'd be all about that. I just didn't like that this question wasn't answered. But that's how the draft goes sometimes.
So I aside from the Raiders, I know we got plenty to get to from the draft. Like
we're still waiting on Alon too. He's got some computer issues.
What seems to be the best accent in the NFL. We got plenty to get to with that. We got another player who is going to capture the hearts of America once they listen to this podcast and hear the sound from that. I know we're going to get into a lot of that, but wanted to get your opinion. Caleb Williams, drafted number 1 overall. I got to be honest.
Shocker, huh?
No, not really. Not that. I'm kind of a fan of how unafraid he is to be himself. He's obviously a very unique individual. And a lot of people talking mess about him. It's like, God, you got to be perfect to get the approval rating from these NFL fans. You got to be kind of charismatic, but not too much. Because if you do it too much, then we're going to give you the fingernail painting emoji on every single thing, and we're going to call you LGBTQB or whatever it is, which is just it's so bizarre how football fans react to someone being themselves. But I got to tell you, it's really refreshing. It's really refreshing to see that because maybe it's because we grew up in like the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning era. I guess Phillip Rivers would be one who really was always himself, true to himself 100% of the time. But it doesn't feel like you're always getting 100% genuine emotions out of these guys. And Caleb Williams, I just think that I found it very refreshing to see just him be himself and get all excited and stuff. He sounds like he's pretty cocky. So he's going to have to back that up. But yeah, it's just the comments I saw were kind of weird. just the insinuations that people were making about him. Bizarre.
I know what I said last podcast about how I worry about him and his arrogance at the next level. And then once I saw the way he was when he got drafted and how he conducted himself in the press conference and everything, I immediately changed my mind. I think that he is just confident in himself and he did things business wise that most other or all other first round picks, first overall picks have never done before. But things change, things are different. He's just going about things business wise that we haven't seen the likes of before. And I liked everything the way that he sounded, the way that he was so energized and he didn't get rattled by all of Detroit booing him when he came on the stage. He was ready to go. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. He's really embraced being a Chicago Bear. And I like that they drafted a punter. He texted the punter immediately saying, "We're not going to need you that much." So I actually, the more that I listen to him talk, the more I'm like, all right, this guy is cocky, but that's what you need in a quarterback. And he's just sure of himself and confident. I take back what I said last podcast. I think he's going to do very well, and I don't think that he's going to be a bad teammate or anything. I think that he's just it's just different. It's just different, and NFL fans gotta get used to it. But I think that I like the way he conducted himself after getting drafted.
I was sold on him. I was sold on him after that. Like all the stuff that we've kind of, how should I say it? All the stuff that we've been skeptical about through his time in college, you know, whether it's like crying after the game, not doing a press conference after losing to UCLA, then the GQ thing where he supposedly wanted like, you know, a percentage of the team that he was getting drafted to. I don't know how much of that was Caleb Williams and how much of that was actually his pops, because I think like his dad had a pretty heavy hand in that GQ article. But no, man, I think this dude is just very much out there as opposed to the typical quarterback, and I think it scares a lot of NFL fans. It's so weird how people reacted to that. And whereas Bears fans got to be stoked because they got him and Rome Odunze. Oh my god!
No, I mean the offense looks great on paper, and I think that Bears fans are ecstatic, and I don't think the nail pile stuff anybody should give a shit about that. Who cares?
it's who cares?
Yeah, it's the other things that were concerning to me is when his dad did the interview with GQ saying that he wants equity in the team, and then also, you know, just him kind of like not wanting to do the medical stuff and him not wanting to meet with other teams. And I just think that he likes talking a lot, and that kind of concerned me before this whole process. But who gives a shit, honestly? If he plays fantastic and backs it up, then it doesn't really matter. So, the guy's just confident in himself, and, you know, he's, you know, been around LA and he's got the NIL deals and do commercials. So he's already had fame before this has even started. And a lot of first overall picks go through that. But he just got to back it up. And I'm looking forward to Caleb Williams playing with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, man. And it seems like they're primed to get finally a number 1 overall pick that's a quarterback that pans out, like truly pans out with their one team. I know it took a little while for other guys to get going, but like since Cam Newton, you haven't had one that's been truly, I don't know. I guess was Jared Goff a first overall pick?
Yep.
He was, right? I guess Jared
with
Goff,
the Rams.
You can count that, I guess, as with the Rams because he went to the Super Bowl, but I mean, he didn't last after his rookie contract, right? So,
no, he got a big deal, and then McVay
traded that
turned on him. Yeah,
right. Okay, well, I guess you could count that as panning out. So maybe the first one since Jared Goff, then instead of Cam Newton. But finally,
no, I think that I'm excited for that. While we're waiting on Alon, and we may actually not get him. He's having major technical difficulties with his computer right now. So hopefully we get Alon. If not, we'll get him next time. But let's talk about the Niners draft. So they take Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver from Florida, with the 31st pick. And when we were at the bar at 21st Amendment, the reaction from everybody basically was, who's that? Because this wasn't on anybody's radar. But if you listen to interviews with Greg Cosell or other guys that study tape, I think a lot of people are bringing up his name as maybe like a second round pick guy. But everybody thought that this guy was going to be a fit with the Niners. And Kyle Shanahan, say what you will about the dynamic with John Lynch. I think John Lynch does a lot of great things when they pick players. But I think Kyle Shanahan pretty much tells John, this is the guy that I want. And they took him. Because I think the way, like, I think at first the reaction from Niner fans was, what the hell? We didn't need this. We needed a corner. We needed a right tackle. We needed maybe more pass rush. We didn't need a wide receiver. And also, I think a lot of fans were like, well, what does that mean about Brandon Ayuk? What does that mean about Debo? This guy's different. He's going to play in the slot. And he could play outside too, but this guy can play in the slot.
What about Juwan?
Well, there's Juwan Jennings too, but they just, gave him the tender, so he'll be there. All these guys will be there now. I'll get to that.
Is your dad? Your dad's gonna do it, isn't he?
Slick Ricky,
Run, Ricky.
No, he doesn't know the Boys in the Hood reference.
He doesn't know Boys in the Hood.
He doesn't know Boys in the Hood, but he did. For whatever reason, I don't think he knows Slick Rick either. Like he heard the Slick Rick. Steve Smith called him that. Steve Smith did a profile on Ricky Pearsall and how much he likes him, and he calls him Slick Rick. And then my dad heard that on the show, and he goes, "I like that Slick Rick. He's a super freak." No, it's Rick James, but okay. Anyway.
Then you're like, Dad, let me sit here and tell you a story.
Yep.
It's
a long ago.
Yeah.
I like this guy a lot. I think Niners fans' tunes changed once they saw the clip of C.J. Stroud getting all angry that he was taken.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks like this guy because he is a volume catcher, a first down maker. He's basically going to be Cooper Kupp in a way. Or Puka Nacua, just a guy that gets a ton of catches. And I think he's going to fit perfectly in this offense. I've also watched a little bit with him. So this is a guy I didn't look at before the draft started, but then I watched him the next day. And he does a lot of jet sweeps. He can do the Debo stuff. But I don't think that's happening anymore. I think this is a perfect fit between Ayuk, Debo, and Ricky Pearsall, a guy that fits the Niners scheme, a guy that can block, and also just get a shit ton of catches. I think this is a great move. Was it a reach? Maybe. But this guy would have went really quickly in the second round.
I think it was. And I guess the only thing that really, my initial reaction was, obviously I haven't heard of him because who's heard of all these guys that are picked late in the first round? I could tell you that not many. We know the top 10, we know the top 15 maybe, but once we start getting into the 25s and 30s, that's when we rely on the experts and we start looking at the prospects, their top 5 prospects that could go to the 49ers, and we base our opinion off that. But really anyone could go in that first. It doesn't even feel like a first round pick. You know what I mean? Like it's this penultimate pick. It's the 31st. It's like, that's not like a first round pick. Like first round pick, I always think of like top 10. You know what I mean? Like no one ever says, "Oh yeah, that guy was drafted 31st overall." Like it doesn't.
There's not that much. There's not that much difference, obviously. Like when you're at the end, you're getting into the area of guys. Like there could be first rounders or second rounders. And I think a lot of people thought Ricky Pearsall was going to be a second round guy, maybe a third round guy, but the Niners just took him at 31 because they liked him. And if he pans out, then it's not a reach.
Right. And that's the thing is like you can consider it a reach, but if it works with the offense and does what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do, and more importantly, block, if he could do that, I guess that's also another thing. It's like, are they going to replace that immediately with Juwan Jennings? Probably not, but I think with his skill set, we'd be willing to. And I will say though, I am very much bearish, not bullish. I'm bearish on this pass rush next year. Okay. They didn't really. I thought they were going to try to get like maybe a Chop Robinson, someone at that from Penn State. I thought they were going to try and get an edge rusher. Maybe they still believe in Drake Jackson and he can, maybe build upon that 3-sack game he had in week 1. But Drake Jackson didn't play the rest of the season. And I know they were just, I know they were just like basically a play away in the Super Bowl. I understand all of that, but it's a different ball game next year, and I think they could have used an edge rusher, not in the first round, but at some point in that draft, and they didn't grab one, and that was kind of a head scratcher for me. I was a little surprised by that.
I was too. We'll go back to the Niners draft in a little bit here, but we finally made the connection with our good friend Alon Desai. What's up, Alon?
Yo.
Sorry, guys. Very, very sorry about that.
You should be.
My computer runs like a potato. It's horrible.
Ooh, we talking mashed or baked?
Definitely baked, overbaked.
My favorite.
Half baked actually. But good to be here.
What's up, man? So I always want to bring you on post-draft time to get your reaction to things because you watch a lot more college football than me and Steven. So I'll just give you the floor, man. What did you think of the Raiders draft?
Well, all the quarterbacks were gone, so that was pretty wild. So they weren't able to draft a quarterback, which maybe saved them in some ways because I don't know if you want to end up with a guy like Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy, but and even Michael Penix for that matter. What the Atlanta Falcons did is just the biggest head scratcher of all time.
Yep.
But I thought Brock Bowers is a great player, so you can't get mad with that. But in terms of it being a need, I don't know. They just drafted Michael Mayer, and I think he's a pretty good player too. So it's definitely a luxury pick. But the second pick, Powers Jackson, that's a great pick. That's a really good pick. That helps them immediately. And I know that they called or Tom Telesco called Andre James. It was either Tom Telesco or someone with his staff and said, "Hey, you're still our center." I thought that was interesting because his snapping has not been great. It wasn't last year, and this definitely gives them flexibility to replace him at center if things don't work out. But we're to hit the ground running, at least their second round pick can play guard from the get-go, which has been a position of need. I thought they reached on the, forget who the corner was, Richardson, I believe is who it was. And
Camarion Richardson from Mississippi State.
Yes, from Mississippi State, who is big guy for a corner. I think he's got pretty long arms from what I saw. I didn't watch a whole lot of Mississippi State football this year, but I don't know. A lot of people, according to their mocks, had him undrafted. So that's a pretty big reach to go for a guy like that, who a lot of other people were like, this guy maybe is number 300 on their consensus board. So, and there's not 300 picks. But overall, I thought this was the first draft I've seen in a long time from the Raiders where I went, wow, they actually pretty much just took good players pretty much according to where they should be drafted for the most part. Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker they got, that was a good pick. The running back they were able to pick up, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but looked like he had good production in college. So overall, you can't complain. But the one thing is, I just wonder what the asking price was for them to try to move up for a quarterback, because they definitely were. And maybe some of that's to blame on how the Raiders let that out of the bag 3 months ago, how they wanted to go in so hard for a quarterback. So maybe teams were asking a ton from them.
Well, but do you think that, I mean, I think it's because the Falcons just made such a shocker at 8 that the Raiders were just not planning on that whatsoever. And they were like, whoa. And they were planning probably on JJ McCarthy going to the Vikings and Bo Nix going to the Broncos. But I don't think they were planning on Michael Penix going right there. And I'm sure they were trying to trade up to get him. But once that move was made, I'm sure they were like, well, we may not be addressing quarterback this year.
Yeah, well, Michael Penix, that was the one that really threw the wrench into everything. I don't understand how the Falcons can give so much money to Kirk Cousins and then turn around and draft Michael Penix, because in my mind, I'm like, so are you admitting already that this Kirk Cousins thing might not work out? Or are you saying that we don't mind sitting this guy for 2-3 years and then he'll be 28? I don't know.
At the very least, what it shows is there is some, I don't want to say dysfunction within the Falcons front office, but they're clearly not aligned in what they want to do. Like it doesn't happen. You don't sign a quarterback for 4 years, 180 million, and then draft one 8th overall. That just doesn't happen.
But it's the same guy making the decision, though.
Is it? Because I think or is it or is it Arthur Blank making the decision for Kirk Cousins? You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to ask, Steven. Like, did Arthur Blank say? What did someone go rogue? Did either the owner go rogue on the staff, or did the staff go rogue on the owner?
I think I think the staff went rogue on the owner. I personally think that. That's I don't know if that's true.
I know there's the clip going around of Arthur Blank trying to get some explanation from Terry Fodeno in the war room, and I highly doubt that's what they were talking about. I'm sure he was just asking him what's the plan the rest of the way, but I don't think he was like, explain this to me. Why the fuck did we just take Michael Penix? Here's my thing with it. I don't like it from the Raider perspective because it totally fucked them over. But as far as what the Falcons are doing, I kind of understand it. Would it have been smarter for them to take a player of need when you were expecting to win this season? Absolutely. But I think that they're being realistic and saying, we still want to win with Kirk Cousins, but this guy's 35 years old and he's off an Achilles tear. Did we pay him a shit ton of money? Absolutely we did. But we don't want to fall off if there's any wiggle room where this guy's not going to pan out or he's not ready to play or there's a decline. We don't want to wait around for his successor for too long. So we don't plan on drafting this high ever again. So if we're at 8 and this guy's there, we're taking him, and we'll make a seamless transition from Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix. Is it crazy? Absolutely. But I've heard, people on TV and podcasts and all, people that used to work in football or not in football say all the time, well, you should just draft a quarterback every year. And I think that that's a crazy thing to do. I think this is the first time that a GM was like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do that. Because I don't want to be, I'm planning more for the future than I'm planning for the here and now, which I would not have done. But I kind of understand why they did it.
They've also been quarterback starved too in Atlanta.
Yes.
So there's got to be pressure on that franchise just to have someone young who they're not getting. I mean, the last person that they've had was Matt Ryan. And then, who else have they really had over the last 20 years? Vic,
Desmond
Ryan,
Ridder and
Schaub. And
yeah.
I mean, it's not been great besides Matt Ryan. So I don't know that didn't just throw a wrench into the Raiders' plans. I think that
caused a car accident.
Yeah, exactly. It caused a car accident. I would say the biggest head scratcher for the Raiders, and I actually thought the Niners had a more interesting draft than the Raiders did. I think their draft's much more fascinating. But as far as the Raiders, it was a bit of a head scratcher that they didn't take the best defensive players available because they had their pick of the litter. But that just might show that they didn't have guys like Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion Arnold or guys like that ranked that high. And, maybe from an overall perspective, they don't have them ranked higher than Brock Bowers, but at the end of the day, he's still a luxury pick. So whoever's playing quarterback for them is going to have to use that weapon, because if he's not utilized immediately, it's going to be like, why the hell did you draft this guy?
Right. I thought as soon as Penix was off the board, once I saw that pick, I'm thinking, geez, they're really doing everything they can to help whoever's going to be the starting quarterback this year, whether it's Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, whoever wins in training camp. It's like, all right, well, you know what? We're going to take the best available offensive player, not skill. You know what? You can consider him a skill position player. He's more than just a tight end. He can line up as a receiver. He could do all those different things. So I think it's going to be an interesting compliment to Michael Mayer. I actually like the pick personally.
He's kind of a George Kittle kind of player. Like he can kind of move all around. He's not from the Big Ten though, where you had that more blocking background. But I don't know. Look, I watched Brock Bowers for 2 years or 3 years, whatever it was, torch defenses. I mean, there's a reason he was a 2-time Mackey Award winner. So, I mean, it's not that the player is bad. It's just where they got him is it's interesting that he fell to them, but it's also fascinating that they decided to pick him. I thought Bo Nix of the Broncos was incredible in a lot of ways. I wasn't expecting Bo Nix to get drafted that high, and I think it's interesting that Sean Payton's basically tying his wagon to that horse. It's just like, okay, he's going to roll with Bo Nix. I'm not saying he's going to play immediately, but you draft a guy that high, he's going to play this season.
Yeah.
He will, but I also wouldn't put it past Sean Payton to be like, I'm just taking the best quarterback available on the board. And I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that I may do it again next year. He just traded for Zach Wilson a couple days before. So right now he's got Jared Stidham, Ben DiNucci, Zach Wilson, and Bo Nix. And I don't think that I think that he's just looking for his guy, and it may be none of them.
Do you think that Troy Franklin pick is interesting though?
Troy, I mean,
Well,
you want my
Palo Alto?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting pick, and I would not be the least bit surprised if Cortland Sutton now is available for a trade because they got a lot of receivers now, and they may be looking for the future now when Cortland Sutton wants to get paid. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the team. But Alon, so besides quarterback, what did you think was the biggest need the Raiders needed to address in the first round that they did not do?
A lot of people would say offensive tackle. Kind of have to agree with that, but I'm a little more partial to cornerback. They really do need someone opposite who's just as good as Jack Jones was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the strength of that team right now, the Las Vegas Raiders, is their defense. So there's no issue adding to a strength or making it stronger for the long run. I mean, the fact that they already lost Demeek Robertson, who's not like the outside lockdown guy that you need every down, but that's a DB. I mean, the DB room got a little weaker without him. So it would have been one of those two positions, but at the same time, there was also a run on offensive tackles too. Like Latham had been drafted and Fashanu had been drafted. So it's not like they could have taken Fuaga. That would have been fine too. No one would have been complaining about that, but I think they just went in a different direction in Fuaga. But Bowers goes to the Raiders, and the next pick to the Saints is Fuaga. So I would lean offensive tackle.
Yeah, no one believes in Jacorian Bennett. We're just out on him after a fourth round, after a rookie year, fourth round. Yeah, he wasn't good. No, he wasn't.
No,
they do.
He got torched.
Yeah, he did.
And I would say McDaniel's staff didn't do him any favors by leaving him out there for the first 4 or 5 weeks and letting him continue to be torched. It wasn't good for his development at all. But so corner would be the other one. But overall, the Raiders had a solid draft. I would say their draft to me indicates that their team leadership thinks they can compete, because you don't draft the way that they drafted if you don't have this notion in your head that you're right there in terms of being competitive, but which kind of is a weird thought when you don't have a solidified quarterback position.
And that's the part that scares me. So me and Steve were talking about it before you hopped on. He thinks the offense is loaded right now. And I would say it's pretty good, but I'm not saying it's the best offense in the world. I do
I'm not either.
No, I know. But I think you think it's more loaded than I do, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that Minshew can have success in the offense, and I think that Aiden O'Connell can have success in the offense. But it's not going to separate you, in my belief, from the Chargers or from the Chiefs just based on the quarterback play. I don't think the Chargers have as many offensive weapons as the Raiders do right now, but I believe that the quarterback separates them a hell of a lot more. So that's the only thing that I'm disappointed, is that they did not solidify the quarterback position with somebody for the future. I know a lot of people like Aiden O'Connell. I think he's so-so. He needs to make a huge jump this season for me to have a lot more confidence in him. I just see him as a backup. Same thing with Minshew. I think the Raiders have 2 solid backups on the team right now, and they don't have a Super Bowl caliber quarterback on their roster right now that could take them to the next level. That's the only thing that I'm disappointed that they did not address this draft.
That's true. You're not. I'm with Steven in terms of thinking the offense is loaded. That's outside of the quarterback position. They just need that guy to be a trigger man and a good facilitator. But I also agree with you, Derek. Like, they don't have that quarterback on the roster who, we can all say right now. Not that things can't change. Maybe Minshew mania is a real thing, and who knows? But I mean, and he was on a bad team in Jacksonville and then got booted out, and we know how his career has gone. And Aiden O'Connell was put in the worst spot of all spots last year and somehow ended up 5-5. But that being said, they do need a quarterback. It's just, I don't, looking at it now after the process all played out, it may have been impossible for them to get one without absolutely mortgaging the next 2 years, 2 or
Yeah.
3 years, because the run on quarterbacks was incredible. The first 3 picks, and then Penix, and then McCarthy, and then Nix. It was like I don't even want to know how much it would have cost for them to move up into that, maybe that 5th spot with the Chargers or something.
But in hindsight, okay, so the Chargers took Joe Alt at 5,
Yes.
and then it was Malik Neighbors at 6. Let's say the Raiders traded with the Titans at 7, and they move up from 13 to 7. Would they have had to mortgage that much in the future? Because let's think about it. The Titans then were waiting for, I guess, the next available offensive tackle, and that didn't go until
That would have been
14 with the
Fashanu.
Saints. Yeah, so they would have been fine trading down and taking J.C. Latham at 13. So in hindsight, should have the Raiders moved up with the Titans if they were willing to do that?
Yes, but maybe could also be this. And even though there were a lot of reports about the Raiders being connected to Michael Penix and being really all in on him, it could have been that they were just like, we like Jaden Daniels and that's it. And if that's the case, then there was no realistic option for them to trade up, because the Commanders were not going to move from what all the reports says. And it didn't look, I thought the Patriots out of all those teams would have been the one to possibly think that way, just because of how they've operated over the years. And they did it. They stuck to their guns, and they got Drake May, who's not the best pocket passer in the world, but he's an athlete. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
I really thought, I really think the Raiders thought they were going to get Penix. I think they felt Penix was going to drop to them. At first, I'm like, Tommy T, that's what we're calling him now. Not even in his real first season as a GM. We're calling him Tommy T.
Tommy T.
Not to be confused with the Great Comedy Club.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, maybe not. Maybe we should just call him Tom T.
Tommy Tell.
Tom T. Like, I at first said, well, you should have had the foresight to know this was going to happen, and you should have traded up to get him. And maybe the price was way too steep. The asking price was way too steep. But in my mind, when I saw, I don't know if I'm wrong on this, Alon. You could tell me I'm wrong on this, but I was just speculating that maybe Penix thought he was going to the Raiders, and I'm basing that off the one guy who was at his draft party who was wearing 49er gear, and he's going to be like, you know what? The reason I'm going to wear this, I'm going to support my team, but I'm also going to show them I'm still Niner red and gold blooded for life, even though my family member or family friend, whoever he was to Penix, even though this guy's going to be a Raider, I'm still red and gold, bleeding it. I
like
think they do.
I like that theory. I'm leaning in on that. You know what? He was like, the Raiders are going to draft him. It's going to be on TV. And how am I going to stick it to the Raiders? I'm going to be wearing my faithful to the Bay stuff. And that's what that guy thought. No, I like that. But
Brock Bowers' dad did all but that. Everyone was making the joke about him not wanting to go back to Vegas or something like that. And it's like, that's funny. But I think he was in my mind, because he's a North Bay guy. Most North Bay people are Niner fans. I had a feeling he's a pretty diehard Niner fan. It's just thought.
There was a story that I guess he used to go to the training camps when he was a kid for the Raiders, and Derek Carr signed a football for him and stuff like that. And I'm sure he treasures and holds that football signed by great quarterback Derek Carr, maybe in a glass case in a vault somewhere. But he was probably a Niner fan. So him being a Raider is pretty funny. But I also look at where Chicago picked, because they picked not their first pick, their second, the number 9 pick, where they picked Rome Odunze, and that could have been another opportunity for the Raiders to jump up, because I don't think the Bears would have asked for a boatload to move up 4 picks into the 9 spot. But the problem is Penix is already gone, so then your choices really of the top tier guys are McCarthy and Nix, and I don't think the Raiders were really in on either of them.
No. And just to say, I did see the quotes. Brock Bowers, went to training camp alive to see the Raiders because he's a Napa kid, and his family was diehard Niners, so it was conflicting for him. I don't think the Raiders were interested at all in JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix. What do you think about those picks, real quick, Alon? Because you don't like the Bo Nix pick at all for the Broncos.
No, I'll start with the Bo Nix one. I don't get it. They have Zach Wilson, and Bo Nix is. I mean, I'm not a Bo Nix hater, but I'm definitely on the Bo Nix. Most of his passes are completed. 30% of them are behind the line of scrimmage or within 1 to 3 yards. It's just you can't do that in the NFL, and I'll always harp on that. And so were his stats really good? Of course they were, but I can also look at the fact that he ran away from the SEC and then he decided to go play in the Pac-12. And you're playing teams like Washington State and Stanford and teams like that. It's just like, well, those teams aren't powerhouses right now. So I don't know. He's interesting and he's got good physical traits. He can move well. He's not the best runner in the world. In a lot of ways, even though the offenses that they've both run are completely different in college, he reminds me of young prospect Derek Carr with his ability to throw the ball down the field and be kind of a gunslinger sometimes. But the problem is he doesn't have the same arm. He doesn't have I don't think he has the arm velocity during the game. And like I said, they don't play in the same offense. He doesn't have much control in that offense. It's just, okay, let's dump it off for a screen or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bucky Irving. It's a name that's not mentioned enough when talking about Bo Nix and that success that they had. Big Ducks guy. I'm a big Duck. Big Sco Ducks. That's what I'm all about.
Didn't you go up there recently, Steven?
I did. It was one game. It was against Washington State where they just pummeled them.
There you go.
In turn, I became a Duck fan because
he's a big old Duck boy.
The atmosphere at Autzen was fantastic. He was great.
That's awesome. I would love to go up there for a game. But yeah, so the Bo Nix pick, I don't know. It's weird. I don't think that's their answer. That's why it was to me, I was like, why are you drafting him? But you brought up a good point, Derek. Sean Payton might be like, I need quarterbacks.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he feels. If he's just like, I'm going to take a flyer on Bo Nix. If I don't like him within a year, I'll just make him the backup. And I wouldn't be surprised by that whatsoever. What do you think about J.J. McCarthy? I know that Steven, before you hopped on, said that he doesn't think that, Justin Jefferson's going to kind of, his stats will go down now. I think that
number one guy, I feel sorry for him. I feel so bad for Justin Jefferson. He's all about these individual records. You're not going to set them with J.J. McCarthy under center, bro.
But here's the deal. I do see a lot of Brock Purdy and J.J. McCarthy. And would I have taken him in the first round? Probably not. Maybe towards the end. But I do think him going to the Vikings is a hell of a lot better than him going to the Patriots because the Patriots are a Gerard Mayo-led team. And I don't think that offense is going to be the best thing for them. That's why I think Drake may have to figure it out on his own. Like Alex Van Pelt is his offensive coordinator, and he'll help him out. But like the Vikings are going to help J.J. McCarthy out with Kevin O'Connell being his head coach and offensive play caller. So and he'll have time to figure things out. I think Sam Darnold's going to be the starter to start the season, and then JJ will learn. But I think JJ could be the Brock Purdy for the Vikings offense.
So I'm not a big fan of JJ McCarthy in terms of I didn't pick him. Not at that spot. I think he's overdrafted. But JJ McCarthy to the Vikings, I think, makes a lot of sense. And for a lot of the same reasons you just brought up, Derek, I do think Justin Jefferson's stats will go down. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. He's not going to be as prolific as Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins really hasn't had a bad year other than being injured. So that'll be kind of something to keep your eye on how that offense operates. But JJ McCarthy's perfect for them right now. I think he's smart. He played under a guy who demands a lot. So the switch to the NFL in terms of that is not going to be huge for him, I don't think. And he has some like crazy athletic ability. He does make dumb throws and sometimes his timing is bad and he trusts his arm a little too much, but he makes some plays where like, wow. I mean, he jump throws like he's a shortstop or spinning out of things. Like he can do some things, but I think if he went to any other, it's interesting you brought up the Patriots because if he would have went to the Patriots, I don't think it works at all.
Yeah.
I think with Minnesota, it does work. He's protected. They have a better roster. They can be competitive with him from the get-go, so that will help him a lot. The only question is he going to be like, what's his 10-year outlook look like? Because they drafted him in the top 10. So is he a 10-year guy, which would then mean he's a franchise quarterback? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, so, I'm not totally shutting the door on whether he could be good because honestly, I'm taking the easy route. It's so easy to say in sports that this player's not going to pan out because well, you have a higher percentage chance of that happening because it's not a lot of players pan out. It's a very easy lane to take. I'm willing to be open to it. I was just like, damn, Justin Jefferson getting JJ McCarthy. All right.
And yeah, Jefferson's probably happy that he has a quarterback who can throw down the field, which is good. But at the same time, he's like, damn, a rookie. Great. Yeah. So I don't know. I think JJ McCarthy is a fine pick for the Vikings. Anybody else would have drafted him, and I would have been like, I don't know about this. Maybe the Broncos would have been okay too. Probably not. The Vikings are a good spot for him. He's got a decent roster to work with. But that was kind of my thoughts about most of the first round. I'll say this: I thought the Arizona Cardinals had my favorite pick in the first top 10 and the top 10. I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. is a lock, and that's going to help them immediately.
Nope. I definitely see that. He was arguably the best wide receiver in amongst the draft class. You could make the argument for Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, but he definitely stood out, and him, having his father, guide him is definitely going to help him out. What do you think about Joe Alt, though, going to the Chargers just to stay in the division?
I love that pick by the Chargers. Yeah. That was a very good pick. They needed it. They need that help. They need big boy help there. So for them to be able to go get Joe Alt, who's ready for the NFL and had a good career, a good year at Notre Dame, like that's a great pick. Because the Chargers kind of had a great position to pick in too, because they knew the top 3 guys were going to be quarterbacks, and they probably were guessing in their mind that if Arizona was going to trade out, then someone else would grab a quarterback. Oh, because you're not going to trade up to 4 to take a wide receiver probably. So they knew either that was going to happen or Arizona was going to take a wide receiver. So the Chargers get their pick of the litter in terms of offensive tackles. If they wanted to go defense, if they could have done anything. I am a little surprised actually that they didn't take a guy like Brock Bowers, because I think that would have helped Justin Herbert immediately.
Definitely, but I mean, you just said it yourself. Like
they need it.
Yeah, Harbaugh is all about offensive linemen. And some might say, like, well, Joe Alt was a left tackle. You're really just going to put him at right tackle? If it means that Justin Herbert is protected, then yes, I think that's what Harbaugh's thinking there. And I do like the Ladd McConkey pickup in the second round. I think he's not Brock Bowers, but he's, same school and same team. And basically is just the same situation where he'll not block for you like that. He might a little bit as a wide receiver, but he's going to be your first down getter. He's going to be the guy that gets you a bunch of catches, moves the chains. I like that pick a lot, actually, for the Chargers.
Ladd McConkey, it's funny you bring him up. He was the guy that I thought the Niners should have got if they were going to draft a wide receiver. And instead, they went and got Ricky Pearsall, which I don't know.
Perfect segue. So what do you're not a fan of Ricky Pearsall?
I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I think he's overdrafted. And you can say that for a lot of guys, but his career, I mean, he had a great year last year. Almost put up 1,000 yards, and he helped in a number of ways. He can run the ball. He actually can. He has a couple rushing touchdowns last year, and I think in every year of his career. And I think the thing with him though, I think that pick is definitely a Shanahan being like, this guy fits my offense perfectly. I think I know what to do with him immediately. But it's also, and Derek, we were kind of texting about this, and Steven, I don't know if you share the same opinion, but I look at this as them knowing they could be in cap hell with their roster after next year, and they're saying, okay, we got to draft a guy now because we don't know what position we're going to be in next year drafting, and let's take a receiver now because we could see a guy like Debo walk, or he'll be out of here because their roster is getting very expensive. So maybe drafting Pearsall is kind of a hedge.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely trending in that direction. I think we're going to see some form of change, especially since they took another wide receiver in the 4th round, or that kid from Arizona. It's like they took Jacob 2 wide receivers in this draft when they're supposed to have after that first round, they already had like 5 or 6 locked up. They just signed Trent Taylor recently. Something's going to happen.
Is Pierce? So here's the thing too. Where does Pearsall get on the field with Ayuk, Debo, Juwan? Like, where does he go on the? I mean, I'm sure they'll deploy him, but it's going to be hard for him to get significant reps, I would think, early on in the season, unless there's an injury.
I disagree there. I think that he's going to be in the offense day one, where he's going to be the safety valve for Purdy. I think Jawan Jennings will be more of the red zone threat when they go 3 wide. Pearsall is shifty and he'll pick up the first downs, but I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to score. I think it's more Jawan Jennings.
He wasn't a big touchdown scorer in
No.
college anyway. I think he had like I
No.
think the senior
5 or
season was
6.
his best with the Gators, and he had 4 last year. So
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna
they're
say
probably not
5.
gonna
Yeah.
use him in the red zone much.
Yeah, and Brendan Ayuk knows him from he I think he did a couple semesters at ASU, so they were teammates. And he texted John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to say, "Fire pick, can't lie." So I mean, yeah, I know a lot of fans. The reaction was, "Well, shit, what does this mean for Ayuk and Debo?" And going into the day, I came on the podcast last time, and I think me and Steve were kind of in agreement. We're like, we're leaning in the direction that maybe they're going to trade Ayuk, and now I don't think that's happening at all. I think that the Ricky Pearsall move basically means that they want to have just a different wide receiver. They want to have a Cooper Kupp type of guy. And Debo Samuel is not that guy.
No.
I've always said that I thought that they needed to trade Debo over Ayuk, but it's just a matter of whether or not Kyle values Debo more than Ayuk. And it sounds like to me that they tried to trade him on Friday. They tried to trade Debo after it went from Mike Silver saying initially that they've assured Debo Samuel that he will not be traded. Then it went to Thursday night being like, most likely Debo Samuel will be traded. And now it's looking like all 3 guys are just going to stay on the team together as the wide receiving core. Funny enough, Dieter Kurtenbach did a YouTube-only draft show with us. And we asked him, what do you think about this? And he said, I'll be completely honest. 6 weeks ago, I was 100% certain that the Niners were going to trade Debo Samuel to the Baltimore Ravens for a first-round pick. That's the info that I received, and that's what I thought was going to happen. And for whatever reason, it did not materialize. And I think the Niners were looking to get either a first-round pick or a second-round pick for Debo, and they did not get it. So they're going in with the mentality that we're going in for one last dance. This will be it with Debo Samuel on the roster, and then he will not be on the team in 2025. I think even Diana Rossini reached out to him and said, like, what do you think about the whole situation with them drafting Ricky Pearsall? And his response was, I know what's going on, and I'm cool with it. I'm fine chilling with the team. So I think that everybody's on the same page, and I think Brandon Ayuk will get his contract. Just a matter of, is he going to get paid like Amon-Ra St. Brown or A.J. Brown? I highly doubt that because I don't think he's as good of a player. And maybe he needs to show that he could be a number one in this offense to get that contract. But most likely he will get paid before the season starts. I just think this means they're going all in one last season. Ricky Pearsall could do Debo-like things. But Debo, is a great player. But I think that Super Bowl, they look at him not getting off the line of scrimmage or in press coverage. The Chiefs took him away.
He was shut down.
Exactly. So I think they want a guy that can break away to get first downs, get easy catches. And yeah, this is the last dance. I think that they're going to have to make some hard decisions after the season, and Debo Samuel will be at the front of the list that they'll have to move on from.
It reminds me a lot of the Warriors at the end of the Durant run, not in terms of them not being good, but they're stacked. The Niners are stacked, but you can only keep, especially in NFL, you can only keep these windows open so long. And even though Brock Purdy had a phenomenal season last year, I'm still a little unsure, like how many can he keep doing that? And I think he can, but that's also a big question mark there too. Not in terms of like, we got to replace him, but in terms of, is he really that good? Because if he is, you just got the steal of all time for any NFL draft. But the other thing about Pearsall and their window, this is going to be their last best chance with this group.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're going to see, because they drafted Pearsall so high and he's a valuable weapon that Kyle Shanahan will be able to use, if we're going to see like a decline in Kyle Juszczyk snaps to find ways to get a guy like Pearsall on the field. That way, you can have Pearsall, Kittle, and Ayuk and whoever, and obviously McCaffrey has to be on the field for every Niner snap. But I wonder if we're going to see things like that as well.
Some of those fans are going to have nothing to complain, or they're going to not know what to complain about because it's a weird thing that we see every year where because there's so much talent on the roster, it's either player X is getting the ball too much. Player Y isn't getting the ball enough because of player X. We need to get the ball to player Y. But what about player Z? Like, you know what I mean? There's so many things. And I think if you're going to take the Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle crowd of we need to get these guys the ball more, what happened to those guys? Yeah, I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of that this year. You're going to see the classic Kittle wide open, and he's going to get his yards after the catch. And I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of, 3 receptions for 67 to 70 yard games for Kittle with maybe a few touchdowns mixed in with it. But I think him and Juszczyk are both going to decline in not the number of snaps. They'll be out on the field, but just like the number of actual plays where they get the numbers.
The productivity is going to go down a little bit. And that's not because they're not doing their job or doing things their right way. It's just there's oodles and oodles of weapons out there that, you can't just force feed the ball to one. Well, you could, but it's not a good idea.
and let's be real. I think George Kittle's time as a Niner may be coming to an end as well. This could be it for him this season. They did draft Cameron Latu, but I don't think Kyle trusts him yet. And you may see more of him in this offense this season. Some of these guys that they drafted got to start panning out. I think with the addition of Ricky Pearsall and them drafting another wide receiver in the 4th round, Jacob Cowing, I don't think Danny Gray is going to remain on this team. I don't think Ronnie Bell may remain on this team. Who knows? Ronnie Bell maybe gets the benefit of the doubt because he gets a season. Danny Gray's, Steven, been on this team since 2022. Like, he hasn't done anything.
I forgot about Danny Gray.
Yeah, I don't think he's making the roster. But just as far as what they did draft wise, Alon, because you said you actually liked a lot of what they did.
Yeah.
2nd round they went Renardo Green, cornerback from Florida State. 3rd round they went Dominique Pooney, guard from Kansas. 4th round they went with Malik Mustafa, safety from Wake Forest. 4th round they went with Isaac Granardo, running back from Louisville. 4th round, they went with Jacob Cowing, wide receiver from Arizona. 6th round, Jared Kingston, guard from USC. And then finally, 7th round, Tatum Bethune, linebacker from Florida State. If anything, this is a great name draft. But what did you think of the actual players that were drafted, Alon?
I loved it. I love the Renardo Green draft pick. I think that's awesome. One thing that I've been saying about the Niners since they've really been in this window is I just always feel like they need more DB help. And I think they went out and got that with Renardo Green, which is perfect. He can play corner day one. And Malik Mustafa, I love that pick too. I love that safety pick. I mean, I know he played at Wake Forest, but his production's all over the place and he knows how to play and he's a tackling machine. And that's a good thing for them to have. And he can also make plays on the ball too. And when he does make tackles, I mean, he's had multiple forced fumbles and fumble recoveries and he knows what to do. And he can also be a box guy for you too. If you want to bring him down in the box and blitz him. I mean, he's not scared of going and getting the sack. So I thought they did a good job there. One of my favorite picks that they made was Jarrett Kingston, their round 6 pick. I like that a lot too, because I think he immediately adds depth for them. The offensive lineman out of USC, and he might end up having to play just because we know how health works on offensive lines. So I thought they did a really good job. Jacob Cowing, I think that's interesting that they doubled up on wide receiver, but they must really like him, so that's fine. And then the Pooney pick is good too. I mean, I don't have an issue with any of their picks really outside of where they drafted Pearsall, because if I was going to get a wide receiver, would have went for a guy like Ladd McConkey. But I think they knocked it out of the park. If you're a Niner fan, you should be very happy with this draft, because some people I think are under the impression, well, picking in the bottom 2 or 3 picks of the first round and all being towards the end of all the rounds, it's like, okay, we can kind of let the dust settle and just take best available. And it's not that easy, because some guys that maybe you thought were going to fall to you are not there anymore, or some of your plans don't go the way they want. And it's hard to get people sometimes to trade back up into that first round, especially, and give up some type of equity to get in, and then you trade back down. So where they drafted at, I think they did a great job.
I always trust, this is just because of it, we've seen them build this team into a perennial contender for the postseason. Whenever the 49ers draft, I really never have much of a total opinion on it, because they've proved time and time again that they are damn good at drafting. And it really, like, every position that they took, whether it is corner or offensive lineman, wide receivers, it's been a so-so of panning out, but it feels like with every other position, they've kind of they've struck gold on quite a few picks, except for running back. I don't think every running back they like tends to pan out, whether you date back to 2017 with Joe Williams, to recently with Ty Davis Price, Trey Sermon. You go down the list, they haven't been great at drafting running backs. So I'm really always going to be skeptical. And when they took Isaac Guerendo, or whatever his name is, in the 4th round, I should be more professional with that. I think it's Guerendo, but
you might be right.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect with that pick, because it feels like running backs just kind of get to that system and don't really know what to do. And then there's Elijah Mitchell too, but Elijah Mitchell lost his place because of Christian McCaffrey.
One thing I will say about Isaac Guerendo, the one stat on him is that he has never fumbled in his collegiate career.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
And he's bad fast. He ran like a 4.3 40 at the NFL Combine. So the dude is quick. So, I mean, that's a weapon. Shanahan loves those weapons. So that could be a big screen guy. That could be you could use him in a number of ways. And what better way to have a guy maybe who's going to spell McCaffrey or play on special teams than to have a guy who's just got blazing speed and doesn't fumble. I mean, you can't ask for more at the running back position.
You know, it was funny though. Kyle did address like the way they were going to go the rest of the draft after they took Pearsall, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll do our usual thing and stuff. We'll take running back in the 5th round. He won't pan out, and then we'll all get chastised for it. But I always do that, so whatever." And everybody laughed, but that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Steven thought that they didn't address enough pass rush in this draft line.
Yeah, but I also forgot about Leonard Floyd, so there's that too. But I just don't think that. I thought they were going to address that at the end of the 1st round. I thought they had a lot of edge rushers to choose from, guys who could make an impact right away. So that if there's like any position group I'm skeptical of, it's obviously the corner. But if this guy from Florida State is what you think he could be, and if he's drafted in the 2nd round, he could probably be an impact player. Like, I don't know, that pass rush was under a little bit of scrutiny towards the end of that season, and their lack of production after the trade deadline. So I wonder what that's going to look like next year.
And a lot of that was because of Chase Young. I mean,
right.
And if that pans out, you're probably not talking about it the same way in terms of the production would have been there. But yeah, I mean, the problem for them was to get one of the premier, if they wanted one of the defensive ends, like whether it's a Dallas Turner or Jared Verse or a guy like that, they would have had to move up. And I don't know if they didn't have to. I don't think that they believe they had to. That being said, interior defensive line and defensive end is definitely a need for the Niners going forward. And they didn't really, I mean, they got defensive backs, but they didn't really go hard after that. I thought that if they did want to trade up, they could have got a guy like Darius Robinson. They were probably hoping that one of the premier defensive tackles fell to them, probably like Byron Murphy. There for sure, they were probably hoping for a guy like that to
God,
fall,
if that happened, they would have definitely taken him.
Yeah, they would have taken him. But I mean, he fell right into Seattle's laps, and they're not gonna not take Byron Murphy. He's perfect for them. I think for a moment there, I thought that someone was going to say, "To hell with it, I'm going to draft T'Vondre Sweat very high," just because of how good of a player he is. But the DWI kind of puts that on the back burner, so that wasn't that's very rough. But I thought that San Francisco could have taken him. But I don't know. Mason Smith was another interesting guy. He went, I think, early in the 2nd round. Big defensive tackle out of LSU. Production not really there during college, but like a mountain of a man, 6'6", 320. and I thought he could have helped a team like the Niners immediately. But yeah, I'm with you, Steven. They need to figure out some things on the defensive line, not because their defensive line is going to be bad, but they just don't have. You're not going to have what you had last year trying to bring in Chase Young and have this massive, impact.
Yeah. Whatever they did or whatever I think could be a deficiency next year. But at the end of the day, they're still going to be my top team in the NFC going into this season. I know the Lions and the Packers gave them fits a little bit. And sure, we could see something from the Falcons or whatever with Kirk Cousins, maybe Michael Penix. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the Niners are the class of that conference, in my opinion. So this draft doesn't change that.
It's not even close. I will say this about T'Vondre Sweat. I don't think it would have been a reach because he did get drafted early in the second round.
He did. He ended up going to Tennessee.
He went to
He can booze it up all he wants in Nashville now.
Yeah, he can. So I mean, he went to Tennessee with the 38th or 37th pick or something like that. Yeah. So it wouldn't have been a reach in my mind. And in fact, I would have said, wow, looking at the two picks, whether it's Pearsall or him, I would have said, you got more value getting T'Vondre Sweat. But they went the wide receiver direction, and then they kind of just stuck to their guns and stayed where they were during the draft. And I think they ended up actually doing a really good job, despite not getting a defensive tackle, which is a position that I would have drafted if I was them.
I'm with you, Alon. I think they're good pass rush wise. I think Leonard Floyd is a big upgrade over Chase Young, and they still got to see what they have in Drake Jackson. But I thought that they didn't really replace Eric Armstead at all. I thought they got like a bunch of backups, like Malik, whatever his name is, Malik Collins from
Raiders legend,
the Texans, and Jordan Elliott from the Browns. But those guys aren't starters to me from the defensive tackle position. So I thought they would have addressed that. They could have got Johnny Newton from Illinois in the first round, but he slid to the second round. I don't mind the Ricky Pearsall pick at all. I just thought that maybe they would have addressed that. But overall, I mean, we don't know. Like, that's the bottom line is they address certain needs. They didn't address certain needs. The bottom line is we have no idea if any of these guys are going to actually pan out. But I want to ask you guys before we stop the draft conversation. What was your favorite picks that weren't Raiders or Niners related?
Ooh. Well, I mean, Alon already gave you his, right? He said Marvin Harrison Jr. was his favorite pick in the draft. God, outside of that, I'm not going to act like I know a lot about these players. I don't know. Maybe Romo. You know what? I did like the Romo Dunze going to the Bears. I did like that pick. I just think getting another building up that offense, getting talent around Caleb Williams, that was one that stood out to me. And then any of those offensive tackles taken, like Joe Alden, that dude from Oregon State, were the top two that were going to be taken. So anyone that goes, or any team that gets them, I think made a solid pick. I don't really have like a huge favorite, but I don't know. We always do this thing in the first round. It's like we always think that they're going to be Pro Bowlers right away, when in reality, you hope that half those players can turn out to be dynamic NFL starters. So I don't really know, but I like the Romo Dunze pick.
I would say two of my other favorites would be Joe Alt. I'm right there with you, Steven.
Okay.
I love that pick. And in the third round, and it's another Charger pick, I actually really like that Jim Harbaugh went and got Junior Colson because he's a good linebacker.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good pick for them. So I thought there were a lot of good picks that were I think teams did well. I'll also say I can't believe I love this pick. It's another Michigan guy. I love Zach Zinter going to the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
I thought that was a very good pick too.
I was shocked that Harbaugh didn't end up with Blake Corum. Him going to the Rams must kill him, where he'll see him and not have him. That's got to kill him, because I know he wants to run the football with that guy, and they didn't end up getting him. The picks that stood out to me, I like what the Eagles did a lot. Not having to trade up and getting Quinyon Mitchell, the Toledo cornerback, who kind of reminds me of Sauce Gardner, playing at a small school, but just kind of separating himself just from his play. That basically means to me that they're going to cut James Bradbury, because that guy was brutal towards the end of that season. I think he allowed like 10 touchdowns. Not only that, then in the second round, I didn't have time to talk about my favorite defensive players in this draft, and this guy was number one for me. Cooper DeJean, the corner/safety for Iowa. This guy is like the honey badger. And yes, he's white. We don't see a lot of good white defensive backs, but this guy can fucking play. And the fact that the Eagles got both of these guys, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, that's going to be a big fucking deal. Their secondary was awful last year. I think it's that much better now. And then this one's going to piss off a lot of Raider fans. I don't know. I mean, like, Belichick did a great job. I know I'm going off on a tangent here. Belichick did a fantastic job in his draft coverage with Pat McAfee. And he said, like, teams don't think about screwing over other teams when they make picks. Like, you just think about your team. You're not thinking about the ramifications of what that means for that other team. But I will say, that's kind of ignorant to think that the Bills trading with the Chiefs in order for them to get Xavier Worthy is insane to me. And now the Chiefs are going to go, like, I know that guy is, kind of Darius Hayward Bay-ish. We talked about it last time, Steven, where he's the fastest guy at the combine and he has some drop issues. But if he gets it right with the Chiefs, good fucking God, that's going to be a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And then the last one I liked was the Jets not going full Falcons. They waited till later, but Jordan Travis, a quarterback that did very well this season, that was going to be in Heisman contention until he broke his fibula, whatever it was. And now he gets to rehab behind Aaron Rodgers, who ironically needs to rehab as well, or maybe that process is done already. But they plan for the future, I think, a little bit better than the Falcons did. And they get a solid quarterback that could be their guy, whenever Rodgers hangs it up. So I like that pick as well. And yeah, those were the picks that stood out to me in the draft.
What? Two questions here, Derek. You're a Texas guy. What did you think of Xavier Worthy going before A.D. Mitchell?
I think that was strictly because it sounds like Adnan, for whatever reason, did horrible in his interviews. And I guess the reports were that he looked disinterested and just didn't want to be there, and it reflected poorly on the teams that were looking at it, or reflected poorly on him when he was being interviewed. And I know that Chris Ballard went into a tirade talking about, like, that's fucking bullshit. I can't believe that all these reports come out about these guys. Yeah, I'm with him on that one. That sounds like that was true. That sounds like, AD just didn't want to interview with teams, and that's not a good deal. But if he could play, he could play. So I wasn't surprised by that one. I think the speed. If Xavier Worthy went to any other team, I'd be like, yeah, we'll see how he goes. Now that he's on the Chiefs, he's going to be good. I think he's going to be really good.
I thought another interesting pick was Joe Milton, the quarterback from Tennessee. I actually think a smart move for New England to double up on the QB in the draft, because I don't know. I mean, they're in a total rebuild, so might as well. And Joe Milton, even though he's not a great college productive in college, not a great career, he has like every athletic tool in the box, and he can throw it 90 yards, it seems like. So I don't know. It was a good draft, but yeah, it was a fun one. I will say this, because I know the draft coverage is coming to an end here. I wish we could go back to the days of Saturday and Sunday draft. I'm so sick of waiting until primetime television on Thursday, same thing on Friday, and then it's just 2 days, and I liked it.
I'm with you, Lon. I like those days in my younger days where you just watch the draft on the weekend. But this thing has turned into a spectacle now where I expect it on Thursday. So it is what it is. I'm cool with it.
What did you guys think of the crowd that they had in Detroit? I loved it. I was like, this is
Crazy.
Awesome that there's so many people.
Not surprised. I mean, whenever the draft goes to a city, it's going to take over. And yeah, I mean, against Steven's wishes, this thing probably outrated, NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs. So
I don't care about ratings. Why would I care about ratings?
Are you a big ratings guy, Steven?
No, I'm not. Derek keeps on doing this thing where he acts like I'm into ratings.
He's all about the ratings.
I don't like watching it on TV. I don't. This one I was a little infatuated by because there was a lot going on, and after Penix got taken, it's like, oh my God, what is going to happen here? But like, this was a historic draft. But for the most part, I'm not a huge fan of watching it. I just wait till I get the update on my phone, and then I watch something else. So I was paying attention. Yes, I was paying attention to NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. I wasn't watching the draft. I had the draft on my laptop when I was watching it.
You're watching like Grey's Anatomy, and then like no,
I was watching
Taskmasters.
I think I was watching Nuggets versus Lakers or something like that.
Which is that was crazy that series was going on during the draft. But no, I mean, yeah, that I totally get that with live sports going on during a draft. I get that. The draft's not for everybody. I didn't pay attention to everything yesterday. I was watching a little bit of it, but I was more into the basketball yesterday. But I caught up with all the draft picks and whatnot. I get it, Steven. I get it.
I didn't watch a single basketball game during the draft. I only watched the draft, and I love basketball, but I only watched the draft. I was like, I went old school too. I wasn't like, oh, the Pat McAfee coverage or the college game day coverage with Nick Saban. I was like, I'm going Mel Kiper Jr. and that's what I want to hear. I want to hear Mel Kiper Jr. Yeah.
So you don't want a draft pick who doesn't eat lunch with utensils. He only uses his hands. He's got good hands.
Exactly.
So you didn't watch any of Saban and his TV debut?
I watched a little bit, but not enough to make a joke. Was he good?
I didn't see it. I just saw a few clips. He talked about sports intuition, which I thought was very well done. Across sports, he was talking about how like you can't teach, a baseball player to know when to hit a baseball. He has to know that on his own. And he was talking about it for defensive backs. He applied it to everything. He's going to be really good on TV. Belichick was lively too. Like he basically, pined for a job live on the air, telling McAfee like, "Hey, can we do this on Mondays?" And he was like, "Absolutely." So I know everybody thinks that Belichick's going to be boring on TV. I thought it's actually the perfect spot for him, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if, for whatever reason, if things don't pan out, if he doesn't get another job next season, where more TV networks call him and say, "Okay, we actually saw you have a personality. We want to put you on games."
What I saw of Belichick on the Pat McAfee stream or their broadcast, especially when he was up in front of their big board, their mock big board that they had, I loved it. He looked like he was having a lot of fun. And if ESPN was smart, they'd figure out a way to get him and Saban on the same broadcast sometime.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if that's I know they already announced that he's going to be a part of something with the Manning cast, but I bet you him and Saban will have something as well.
I would love a college style Manning cast with those two. That'd be cool. I don't know anything, but
that would be interesting.
Yeah, overall, I would say very fun draft to watch, and I love what the Niners did, and I liked what the Raiders did.
Hey, hang on. Alon,
don't slaughter me, Raider fans.
Alon, do you have the Phoebe? Get out of the way. Do you have my cat's in the way? Alon, do you have the first round? Just like all the first round picks up on your computer near you? All right, Derek, take a back seat. This is the game I like to call. Let's talk about how wrong Derek was on his mock draft. All right, here we go. I'm gonna pull up the mock draft here. You got number one, but you opened up the door here so we could review it. All right, so Alon, here's what we're gonna do. I am going to read the first pick of Derek's mock draft, and you give me the actual selection of what it was. All right, you good with that?
All right. Yep.
All right, cool. Number one overall, Caleb Williams to the Bears.
Hit. He got it.
All right, hit. Good job. Nice. Number two, Jaden Williams out of ASU to Washington. Jaden Williams.
No. It's actually Jaden Daniels over at LSU.
We'll give him a half a point there. You got the half.
Okay.
Right.
Why the fuck did I do that? Good Lord.
All right. Anyway, number three, JJ McCarthy to the Patriots.
Wrong.
Tough.
It's Drake May.
All right. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals.
Winner.
All right. Winner chicken dinner. Where are we at? We're at 2.5. Good job, Derek. Number 5, trade. Minnesota takes Drake May.
No.
Oh,
Chargers stay put and take Joe Alt.
Oh, damn. Giants taking wide receiver Malik Neighbors.
Ding, 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 ding. Good job, Derek.
Got another one. Nice work. Number 7, Joe Alt to the Titans.
Nope. Tennessee gets J.C. Latham.
All right. Number 8, Dallas Turner to the Falcons.
Wrong. Michael Penix. How did he not see it coming?
How did he not see that coming? I don't know. Rome Odunze to the Bears from Washington.
Correct.
Oh, wow. All right, there we go. That's a good pick. Then we got Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia, to the Jets.
Wrong. Minnesota drafts J.J. McCarthy.
All right. It seems. I think.
Can I just stop this and say the only thing I get right the rest of the way is Amarius Mims going to the Bengals. The rest of it was wrong.
Really?
Is that true?
Yes, the rest of it was wrong. I got everything else wrong.
Yes.
So
Wow.
So we got a grand total of 4.5
Yeah.
out of the
That's okay.
32. Correct.
That's better than so many other people do. So
You know what? I
mean,
give you credit there, Derek. Good job.
Thank
Way to
you.
Yeah.
But yeah, going forward, I'm not going to waste my time with this thing.
I actually think maybe that you should do it every year now, and not just for the first round. I think you should do 3 rounds, 3-round mock draft.
I agree.
Alon, you and I probably do that podcast. I don't think Steven can handle that.
I agree. I think we should.
Alon, thank you as always for stopping by, man. We'll definitely do it a lot more once Steven gets into wedding mode. So thank you always for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations again, Steven. That's going to be awesome. Congrats to you and your fiance.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for having me, and I will see y'all later.
All right,
Hold
Alon.
on,
Thank you as always,
everybody.
man.
Woo! Oh, damn it. I had the volume down on the applause. I had an applause button.
Yeah, it's all good.
Ah,
It's all good.
damn,
So
I was
did-
hoping to go through every pick.
No, I just didn't want to waste time. I already know that I got most of the rest of them wrong. What did I say? Jaden Williams. What the Jesus Christ?
Yeah,
And
that
I
was my
put-
favorite.
And I posted that on our social media page. And I'm surprised no one was like, it's not his name, Derek.
Yeah, you said be sure to tell him how wrong he was later, and I tweeted out about 7 picks later. Can we tell you how wrong you are now?
Yeah.
You
No, you
said it
mean Nate.
later.
Hey, should have. So did
Damn,
the Knicks?
actually, you know what? Ernie too doesn't have a bad idea here. We should both do a mock draft, and whoever loses of having the least hits should eat something nasty. What's up with you guys? Just wanted to punish us?
Well,
What's
we
up
do
with
it
the list?
ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. We've made this bed and whatever.
This
Gotta
big
lay.
hot sauce bed.
Mhm.
Did the Knicks end up winning? Are they up 3-1 on the
Yes.
76ers now?
Yep.
We'll get into more basketball next podcast because that's all we're gonna have lately is just the NBA playoffs and baseball and me waiting for other free agents to sign and the schedule to come out. Get ready, Steven. Right now, Justin Simmons and Tyler Boyd are this year's DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook.
Oh God.
But we should be getting the schedule, I think, in 2 weeks. I think May 9th is the date that everybody's expecting the 2024 NFL schedule to come out.
Yeah, we're going to be in a little bit of a lull here with the NBA playoffs, but you know what? Within that month, you might have something happen with the Warriors. You obviously
Yep.
got those deadlines on June 4th, I think, is when they can potentially guarantee Chris Paul's contract. And you got June 28th, which is the official start of free agency. July 1st is when they could begin legally negotiating with other teams. So there's going to be a lot going on at the end of June. But yes, we are entering a little bit of a lull here.
We're definitely in
Just creeping
cement
in.
time.
Yep.
I'll figure
100%,
that-
man.
I'll figure that out. Okay, do we want to do these fun clips from the draft before we get out of here?
I think so. I think we
All
have
right.
to.
All right, we'll do that, and then I'll save pop culture catch-up and my jackass of the week for next time. But let's do these real quick. These were funny things of new players being introduced. Should we start with Keon Coleman?
Keon Coleman. Actually, the pull-up game's not great right now. I'm gonna.
Oh,
get
boy.
Keon Coleman.
Okay.
Explain to the audience who Keon Coleman is.
Keon Coleman is the wide receiver from Florida State that was taken the first day of the second round. And he's basically going to be, for now, the go-to guy for the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills needed a big, strong wide receiver. So I think he's going to fit them perfectly, and he's got a good personality. So they introduced him to the Buffalo media, and I don't think he was aware that he was live and the mic was on, and he was asked about his yellow jacket.
Nah, man, you forgot I went to school in Michigan for 2 years. You did. Guess where I got this from, though? I'm saying you gotta guess. You're gonna be wrong though, but guess. Nah. Macy's. What you mean? they be on sale on the rack, all the colors. Look, $79, $89. Nice little deal. You can get the trench coat for like $100. Nice little. I'll take it up personally. I might go get some more colors. I need a blue one and another red one. I shop like my mom. I get my coats in the summertime. You gotta shop a season or two before, just in case, and it be cheaper. Cause you go at Thanksgiving, everybody in Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying?
The best part about that is afterwards, he's like, "All right, so we doing this thing? Oh, I've been on this whole time. Okay, shoot." And he just has a good personality. I like that. I like the goofiness, and yeah, shops at Macy's for his coats. I should probably do that. I don't have enough good coats.
I don't either. Did that convince you to go get a coat? I thought to myself, damn, maybe I should go to Macy's and see if they got any coats on sale now that we're heading into this time of the year where you don't really need a coat, but this is when they go on sale and get them a little cheaper.
Yeah, I thought about that for years. I need to get good raincoats. For whatever reason, I just I live in the Bay Area. It rains a lot here, and I just don't have one, and I need to buy one.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Who's next? Xavier Legette.
Yes.
Okay. This is the wide receiver taken with the last pick for the Carolina Panthers in the first round. This is Xavier Legette, who's from the Charlotte area.
All right. We will begin with questions for Xavier.
Xavier, you woke up a Carolina Panther. Did you have to pinch yourself?
Say it one more time.
So you woke up a Carolina Panther this morning. Did you have to pinch yourself a little bit?
Oh no, man. I woke up ready, man. I got a call right after I got dressed. They was coming to pick me up at 9:30 in the morning. I told them I'm gonna be ready.
What was that feeling like when you got the call? Because I saw the emotion in your face in the video, but what were those emotions?
Overly excited my whole time, and I really trying to hold my tears in for real, man. I told my folks I wasn't gonna crack. I was trying to be tough guy, but man, I was really over excited.
Okay. Okay. It's a very thick accent. Here's the thing. I've heard other interviews with him, and the accent is not as thick. You can understand him a little bit more. There, it's like, huh? And it's more like Creole, like New Orleans.
Yeah.
But he's from Carolina. So I can't wait for his interviews. And people are going to do side-by-sides between him and the guy from The Water Boy, the equipment manager. Well, Bobby.
It ain't that bad.
It's not that bad. You can make out from most what he was saying. But I'm sorry, because I have seen interviews with him, and it's not as bad as that was that's hard to hear. I don't understand what he's actually saying there.
Are you talking about this one?
Yeah, this he sounds different.
Right down the road, it'll be a little easier for my family to come watch me play, so that'll be great. That's just them telling me that they want me on their team, man. A lot of coaches came and hollered at me before and after this process here, man. A lot of them, man, they say they got a buzz in their facility for me, man, and I'm just ready to see where I'm going to land.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds entirely different.
Yeah. Does a little bit.
Maybe he was just more giddy and excited when he was talking with when he finally got selected.
He got the call at 9:30 in the morning. He was told to be ready, and he got ready.
Oh, I'm gonna be ready, man. I'm gonna be ready. I try not to cry.
In America, I think the strongest accent we have is the Southern accent, right? I think if you had to put, I guess you could. It feels like whenever we're doing the East Coast thing and the Tommy DeVito way, it feels like a lot of people are.
Well, everybody likes that one too. Yeah,
but it feels like people are putting that accent on thicker because there's like an infatuation with it. Whereas like the Southern accents, even Drake Mays is pretty noticeable too.
Does he have one?
Yeah, a little bit. Not
By
that
the
much,
way,
a little bit.
By the way, did you see that video circling about Drake May?
Which one?
There's, I guess, a TikTok going around where someone looks up the quarterbacks that Drake May follows. And basically, they're saying that Drake May only follows mediocre white quarterbacks.
Huh.
Oh,
good. So we're doing that.
Yeah, where I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair. Let's not start doing that.
And
finally,
exhibit. I'd say Z, but I got to go even further than Z. Exhibit number 20, number 5,000. Exhibit 5,000. I'll say. In which we find that social media is just a cesspool where we're trying to create something out of nothing.
Thank you. And then finally, this I loved. So CJ Stroud and Micah Parsons were doing the Bleacher Report draft special. and the two of them were just sitting in the room reacting to all the picks. That's where you see C.J. Stroud's reaction to Ricky Pearsall going in the first round. He had extremely high praise.
Which
Well,
which one did you want me to pull up here?
Did I not list this one?
You said C.J. Stroud and Michael Parsons, but I didn't know like which specific clip. There's a lot of it going around. Huh?
Sorry, the one where they're arguing about which division is the best in the NFL.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Cool. So yeah, they're posed the question, who's got the best division in football right now? And Micah Parsons thinks another way. CJ Stroud thinks it differently. This is their very fun interaction.
AFC South, I think we're going up there with AFC North on the best division in football.
Some would argue that's the NFC East.
On paper, last year we were argued the best division in football. No, sir. Everyone was a playoff team. AFC North was the best division in football. Washington was argued that Washington wasn't nothing, bro. What are you talking about? That meant the Giants either. What are you talking about? What do you mean? They lost to the Eagles.
That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I'm saying going into it, Fam, you don't know what you're talking about. going into last year, no NFC one North in the was argued. planet except for Micah Parsons thought the NFC East was better than the AFC North.
You can't argue that.
I can, bro, unless you're delusional. Going into last year, we have better teams than y'all right now. Going into last year, you thought Washington was going to be good. There's not a weak team in the AFC North. What are you talking about? Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. On paper, Washington was supposed to be a really great team. Washington is not better than any one of those four teams. I guarantee you. That's why Daniel Jones got the contract. They went to a playoff game. And then they added Darren Waller. The Ravens, the Browns. Then they added Darren Waller. Going into that season, they had the Giants. We were ranked third or fourth best team in the NFC. You guys always are. We were ranked third going into preseason. You guys, that's not the conversation. You're trying to single it out for y'all. No.
You know, I got to say with Michael Parsons, I like him I
As a
think he's
player?
great. I like him as a player. I think he's great. But as a pundit,
Yeah.
analyst, yeah, he's got a lot to work on. I'll
He's
say
annoying.
that. I'll say I'm not going to say he's annoying, but
He's annoying.
he has these takes, which it's great. You might be saying something, but when he describes why he has that take, then you're like, all right, that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like other than bias. I don't know. I when I saw him on that draft show, I was just like, all right, all right, I'll take your word for it, I guess, on some of these players. But in other terms, like there's just sometimes when you're like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You're not helping. You're just digging yourself in a hole.
His podcast is not great, in my opinion. He just, everyone's so mean to the Cowboys in the media. And then this, I'm glad someone on his level, like another player, was just like, dude, you're delusional. What the hell are you talking about? I agree with him. Right now, yes, the AFC North is the best division of football. Based on what the Washington Commanders having, I guess, a little expectation. I don't understand what the hell he was talking about. So I just enjoy CJ Stroud just being like, what are you talking about? You sound crazy right now. So
yeah. Stroud was great.
No, Stroud is really insightful. I mean, he's going to have a long NFL career ahead of him. So broadcasting is not anytime soon, but he's already better and less annoying to me than Micah Parsons. All right, we're already over 2 hours here. I am going to save some NBA talk, some pop culture catch up, and our Jackass of the Week for next time. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Skills showed up. Skills, you didn't know about the KNBR thing? Come on, dude. Come through next time. Ernie 2, good meeting you, man. Tacky, AJ Cruz, all of our favorites. I think even Danny Golding TV showed up today. Thank you guys as always. We will be back on Wednesday next week. Steven, say what you always say.
Oh, yeah, it is just our opinion, man.